morning, good afternoon, wherever in the world you are. You know the difference between this and you? Emotion. That's it. The ability to feel is what makes you inevitably human. Other than that, you be a robot. Just as plain and simple and repetitive as everybody else walking around here. But there's not much other difference with this and you. Both are the same. You're both sources of energy encapsulated in a shell. Your shell is the flesh, obviously. And you're full of the same thing, just like this battery. You got positivity in you, you got negativity in you. You got protons, you got electrons, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you got neutrons too. You got a positive charge, you got a negative charge. But you need to use both in order for this thing to function. You understand? Both ends of this thing are used in order for this thing to function. The same when it comes to you, because there is no all strictly one way of doing things. Life is not monolithic. It's not just one aspect. It's not just one way. There's many ways in which things can be done. For the most part, like I tell you before, life is duality. There's one part and then there's an opposite part. And as we all know, opposites attract. You ever notice when you got a battery and you stick it in whatever it is you're trying to use that requires battery function, you put the positive side in, but it doesn't go to the positive end of whatever you're trying to put it in. It goes to the negative side, and the negative side goes to the positive end because opposites attract. You understand? You need both in order to function correctly. This has to use both in order for its proper effectiveness to function. You understand? Life is not all one way. You ever notice, speaking of one ways, you ever notice when you're driving down the street, right? And you come upon one ways, there's one way going that way. But you ever notice if you keep driving, they don't all go that way. There's some that go back the other way. Why? Because opposites attract. You need both in order to function. You understand? You need the failure just as well, just as much as you need the success, because most of the time one leads to the other. Life is duality. It deals with both sides. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And while that's really referring to, physics, but that's what it is when it comes to everything else. It's really all physics. We do things and we have things inside of us that requires both sides in order for it to function. You are just like this battery. You got positive vibes in you, you got negative vibes in you. Now, no one, first of all, positive and negative is a human thing. It's a man-made thing. No one ever told you what positive or negative was. You would have no way to know what that was. You had no way to separate it. But since we have came up with it and we know how to separate it, we identify things with that. But life, as we know it, is not all positive and it's not all negative. You ever notice? Put it like this: you got two magnets, right? You ever seen what two magnets do when you put both of the same sides together? They repel, they bounce off each other because they don't go together. But when you combine two opposites, that's when things happen. When you combine the positive and the negative, you put it in, and boom, something happens. You need both in order to function. You have to understand and accept that both are required in order for it to work. You understand? When opposites attract, things happen. Opposites attract in a battery, you put it in something, boom, it turns on. When you got men and women, we're opposite, right? But when you combine us two, something happens. We have children. There are things that happen that requires both aspects of the opposite. You need both. Life is duality. It's success and failure. It's positive and negative. It's agreed and disagreed. It's it's conflict and resolution. There's peace and chaos. It's everything. But you need to understand you need both in order to function. You understand? Because without that, you just keep bouncing back. But if you take what you have and put it in something and use the opposite of what it is, then that's when you have things happening just as it should. Life is positive and negative. It's not all positive, it will repel. It's not all negative, it would repel. Life is duality. It requires both in order for it to function. You understand? So don't go through life thinking that everything has to be roses and, cake and ice cream too, because it can't. It's not the way things get done. You need both sides. You got positive news that they show just as much as they show the negative news. You got your moments where you feel up and you got moments where you feel down. You got moments where you're full of hope, you got moments when you're full of doubt. You need both in order to function. And it's your job to understand that you have to decide how you look at things. So what something happened that was a negative, you could turn it into a positive. You know, you just got laid off your job. You know, that's a negative, right? But the positive part about it is the job that you really did want, or whatever you were putting your energy into, like whatever business you had, is starting to take off. So that's a positive. So it's not all bad. It's not all good. It's not all bad. It's required. You just need both in order to function. So today, tomorrow, whenever you look at things, just remember to look at things from both angles, because both are necessary and you don't always have to use or look at it in one aspect, because you need both aspects. That's the duality of life. You need both. Not all positive, not all negative. You need both, because opposites attract for a reason. You understand? It's Motivation Monday, man. Go be dope. Function.